Welcome back to Proper Madness. I'm happy to have you back if you're a returning listener. If you're a new listener, my name is Sabby, and I have a very unique perspective on mental health. I believe wholeheartedly that we can turn anything that we have been through and alchemize it into bettering ourselves mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. It helps you feel less alone, to know and understand that the way out is always through the eye of the storm. Grab a cup of tea. If you're not a tea drinker, grab your coffee, and let's sit down and tune into ourselves so that we can learn to connect to other people. We never know the weight of our words and how they might help someone. Is sometimes we seek external safety so that we feel like we need to be safe enough to pursue what we desire and what we want. And if we're always constantly searching and waiting for something or someone outside of us to give us the answer or to give us permission, we're never actually going to take the leap of faith ourselves. We're always going to be waiting for a sign or waiting for the right moment or falling into comparison. A little bit of a reframe for comparison, because to be great, if you continue to watch what other people are doing and you continue to take on a lot of information, you're never going to be the most you that you can be. And that comes back to creating content, right? Some of the clients that I've been working with in my business are all individuals who have a very clear sense of who they are and never steer away from their truth. So when I capture what they do, it's not very hard to get them to be more them, but to allow their uniqueness to be seen is a whole different beast. When you start becoming more of yourself, in turn, you start fearing being seen. Because if you're not used to being seen, if you're not used to being yourself, if you're not used to you being fully accepted unconditionally, generally, by anyone in your life, when it comes time to show up in front of a camera, which is kind of funny because anytime I bring a camera out, people shift, they change, they start performing, and it makes me giggle a little bit. I'm like, this shouldn't change who you are and who you aren't. All I'm doing is just capturing this moment. And I've captured maybe the coolest moments with my camera when people don't know that I'm recording, and then I tell them afterwards, and like, oh my god, you were taking pictures? Like, yeah, because you were in the moment. And those were some of the best moments to capture. And I think every client that I've had has told me the same thing. I have the ability to help people feel seen. And the only reason why I have that ability is because I know what it's like to deeply see myself. If you don't know what it's like to deeply see yourself and to hold truth and to hold resonance for who you are on every level, how can you help other people do the same? It kind of goes to show with like, yes, you don't need to be perfect to show up and give people advice on what to do and how to, move through their lives. But the most credible creators and people out there whose advice that you're taking, you're not comparing yourself to them. You're taking their advice because they are where you would like to be, right? So the only way that you trust them is you know and you see who they are and you see how they move in their life, and it's congruent to the values that they hold. To deeply see and to deeply know yourself means being comfortable with who you are and not trying to perform. When you're in performance mode, you exhaust yourself as a creative because you're putting on a character. You're not really being you. You're just kind of trying to tell people what you think they want to hear, that you think is going to get more views, more traction, more followers, more likes. That's all validation. That's all the stuff that as children, for me personally, I can speak from my experience, Those are all the things that as a kid I yearned for. Because I was never the popular kid growing up, so in turn, when the internet came about, I started making content and I became a big influencer for a year or so. I almost craved that dopamine hit of a like, of a follow, of the validation, but the second it was gone, my self-confidence was gone, my sense of self was gone, which means it never really existed to begin with because I always relied on something else that was outside of me. So lately, I've been working on completely investing in myself on every single level. And when you do that, it doesn't really matter who likes you, who doesn't like you. It doesn't matter how many likes or followers you have. Nothing outside of you matters anymore. Because you know that you're holding yourself accountable to show up every single day to be the best version of yourself. And so when that happens, it's almost like you're growing your own roots so deep into the ground with your sense of self and who you are and who you are becoming and who you have become, that you're solid. The seasons might change. The weather might get a little uncomfortable sometimes. Birds might land on you and might get a little annoyed. But it doesn't matter because you're so solid in who you are. The people who are not solid in who they are, they don't have roots. They don't have roots because they're not investing in themselves purely for themselves out of unconditional love. Sometimes we're investing in ourselves to prove, or we're investing in ourselves and trying to become the best because we want to prove an ex wrong, or our parents wrong, or a teacher that hated us, or our bullies when we were young. Instead of just letting that go and no longer allowing that to be the reason why you work on yourself. The second I forgive that person, all of a sudden, the work that I'm doing on myself ceases. But what if you could do both? What if you can forgive the people that have always seen you as less, or that have rejected you, or that have hurt you, and give them that forgiveness and that unconditional love and know, hey, thank you, and still focus on yourself? Because the second that outside validation is gone, everything within you is fleeting and your roots won't have the right conditions to grow and to deepen. You're just going to keep changing who you are and your success and how you're working on yourself because you're getting that dopamine hit off of making someone else want you again or making someone else feel guilty for rejecting you or whatever. But when you're just in your own lane, doing your own thing, investing in yourself purely for yourself because you unconditionally love yourself and you want the best for you, and not in a arrogant way, in a I am devoted to myself. Investing in yourself is self-devotion. If you just reframe that thought process, the way that you show up for yourself is going to be completely different. Because devotion isn't like fluffy and la 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 and romantic. Devotion, I think of, is the best form of discipline because when you're devoted to yourself, you will show up in the moments that you know are hard, where you don't want to do the things that you know are good for you. You will show up for yourself in those moments where you want to get a little lazy and complacent. But because of that devotion to yourself, and because of that devotion to your purpose, because of that unconditional, deep-rooted love that you have for you, nothing will ever be able to take you away from yourself again. Because the second something outside of you is removed, it does not matter. It doesn't. Everything outside of you is fleeting. But everything inside of you, who you are, who you've come here to be, your purpose, your why, is your truth and your essence. And if you lose that, it doesn't matter who comes or goes. It doesn't matter how much money you make or don't make. It doesn't matter if you have a job or you don't have a job. You will never be able to satisfy that hole within you that you just keep trying to fill with everything outside of you. The energy that we have within ourselves that needs that validation all the time is similar to when we go grocery shopping when we're hungry. When we're hungry and we go grocery shopping, we're just going to pick up whatever the heck we're craving in that moment, but later on we're going to regret it. But if we nourish ourselves, eat something healthy and grounding before we go grocery shopping, then when we go, we're only going to get what we need. We're not going to feel so tempted to look in every which direction for anything that could satisfy us. And you can apply that to any area of your life. So the more that you fill up your own cup and invest in yourself, the more likely you are to show up in a way that's more present and more grounded in whatever you do in life, and how you create, and how you move, and how you interact with people, in your relationships, in your friendships. Because you won't be so reactive with everything that happens. If you make decisions based off of reactivity, it's because you have a deep need inside of you that has not been fulfilled or healed, and the only person that can do that is you. No one's going to be able to do that for you. Nothing is going to be able to do that for you. And when you're creating art, it's the same thing. When we create art from feeling rushed, like feeling like we need to perform, it's that exact same feeling of, I need to satisfy this craving inside of me so I feel better. But if we create when we're already grounded and nourished within ourselves, it comes across a little bit differently, a little bit more intentional. It has a little bit more impact. And impact is greater than reactivity. Impact holds more ground and more resonance and can actually have a deeper effect to your audience. Reactivity is quick. That's how I think of it, right? When you react to something, you're not thinking ahead. It's just this, and then you do something else, and then you don't really know what day it is, and you're just moving and going along with the motions. But if you were to really truly understand whatever that is inside of you that is feeling unfulfilled, get to the root cause of that first, and then create, and then move, and then do, and then be in a relationship, and then do all the things, you'll actually see everything for what it is instead of seeing it from the hunger. Because when you're hungry and you go grocery shopping, my God, the snacks look like a 4-course meal. But then after you've eaten and you see the snacks, you're like, what the heck did I do? I would have been much better off waiting to get the more nutrient-dense, fulfilling quality foods instead. That's my analogy for you. But before you do anything today, before you go anywhere, before you start your day, before you do anything, if you feel that yearning and that hunger and that chase energy, I want you to ask yourself, what are you really running away from within yourself that you're trying to gain from the outside world? And then move from there. And that's this episode. A little shorter. That's all I really have to say. I'm excited to have a lot of my newer content come out. I have been more intentional. I'm being a bit more vocal about my business and what I'm doing. I've been so grateful to have so many wonderful human beings in my life lately that have been so supportive of me. It's allowed me to really gain a real solid understanding of what's healthy and what's not. It's allowed me to receive support for once instead of push it away. It's allowed me to be so in touch and so grounded with myself that I can actually be in healthier dynamics with the people that I love and care about because I'm taking the time to really understand how to be in my body and to be grounded and to grow my own roots before doing anything. So my morning and my evening rituals look very different. Um, and I'm very happy and I'm very proud of how far I've come. And so I'm going to share all that knowledge with you guys. I know it's funny, someone told me that I change and I evolve very rapidly, very quickly. And sometimes, like, per episode, like how I sound and how I'm showing up seems so different from each one. But isn't that beautiful? You know what I mean? Isn't that wonderful that, like, that can happen so fast if we just allow ourselves to feel what we need to feel, and we allow ourselves to be messy, and we allow ourselves to show up incorrectly for a little bit? Because in showing up incorrectly, it kind of weeds out who unconditionally loves you and who doesn't, and I mean that, like, in every respect. It weeds out the wrong audience, it weeds out the wrong people, because when you show up messy and people still can't unconditionally love you and they're picking apart all your flaws and what's wrong with you, and those aren't your people. When you're showing up messy, the right people will know and understand, hey, we all get a little messy sometimes. Hey, we don't always show up in the best way possible. And that's okay. Eventually people get there, and if they don't, that's okay. But like, nothing has to be so extreme in life, is what I'm learning. You can still unconditionally love people in your life, but have some very serious boundaries for yourself if you feel like they're not healthy for you. And it's been freeing to be in that space. So, with that, that's today's little podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I love you all so, so, so much. And I appreciate every single one of you that listens to my podcast, that shares my podcast, and that supports me. And I hope this helps you in whatever way it was meant to. Now go out there and have a bloody wonderful day. And I will enjoy my my cold tea because I've filmed a bunch of tea times. Okay, bye. I encourage you to follow, like, subscribe, and rate this so that it pushes it out to whoever else might need it. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you ever want to chat more about anything that this podcast is about, you know where to find me. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and good old TikTok. And be sure to stay tuned for my Tea Time with Sabby episodes.